Of all the workout supplements you can buy, I think pre-workouts have the widest variety of ingredients and effects and dosages, which is why picking the right one for you can be really, really difficult. Believe me, I've tried a ton of them. This is Nick at Barbend.com, and today I'm going to be walking through my 8 favorite pre-workouts and some runners-up. So I'm going to talk about the best overall, the strongest pre-workout, best for fat loss, best for cardio, best for men, best for women, the best without any caffeine at all, and the best without any creatine as well. Now, if you want to read the full written roundup, we're going to do some additional categories like the best for pump, and I have a couple more runners up in each category. Make sure you Google it to Barbend plus best pre-workouts. For now though, let's talk about the most common ingredients you're going to find in these products. All right, so just to save us a bit of time, because most of these ingredients are in most of these products, I'm going to talk about the most common ingredients you're going to find in your standard pre-workout supplement. The first is, of course, caffeine. Caffeine is a stimulant, and you want about like 180 milligrams or so is about what you're going to find in like a large cup of coffee from Starbucks. So when you hear caffeine, you probably hear it's going to give you extra energy, but that's kind of a word that's difficult to really quantify. There are actually a ton of studies on athletes that have found it improves power output and reaction time, fat oxidation, aerobic performance, and anaerobic performance. So it's not just like a waker-upper. It actually has really reliable effects on performance in athletic situations. So that's really worth remembering. The second one is beta-alanine. So beta-alanine is linked most closely to endurance. There's a lot of studies out there, one's published in Amino Acids in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, that has found like between 1.6 to 5 grams of beta-alanine can reliably increase endurance and also performance in sort of strength endurance, like sets that are in the 6 to 15 rep range. One thing about beta-alanine is that when you take it, you tend to get a bit of a tingling sensation on your skin. Some people like it makes them feel like it's really kicking in. Other people don't like it. It's harmless, but it is something to expect if you're going to take some beta-alanine. Next, I want to talk about citrulline, which is derived from the Latin word for watermelon, which is a very good source of this non-essential amino acid. It's very closely linked with blood flow and circulatory health, which is one reason it's often included in erectile dysfunction supplements. When it comes to athletes, it does have a lot of implications for like nitric oxide production. There was a study published in 2016 in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition that found that among cyclists, it improved power and improved time to fatigue, like increased time to fatigue. In the same year, there was another study that found among tennis players, it increased peak power and explosive power as well. The catch is you want to make sure you get a good 5 to 6 grams of this at least per serving. And a lot of pre-workouts out there, they just have like 1 or 2 grams. So you want to keep an eye out for the dosage for that one. Then there's betaine as well. That has a really strong link with power output. About 1.25 to 2.5 grams per day has been seen to increase power in like the back squat. Finally, I'm just going to touch on the ingredients for focus. Taurine and theanine are often thrown into supplements that have caffeine in them because they help to reduce the jitteriness and like lack of focus associated with a big caffeine hit. So it can help you keep a bit more focus on your workout. There's also some tyrosine, which is also meant to help with focus, although the evidence is a little bit more scarce on that one. So those are the main ingredients you'll find in pre-workouts and the ones that are most common. There are a couple of other ones, but you know what? Let's just get into this list. All right, so what is the best pre-workout on the market? In my opinion, and I've tried a lot of them, I think pre-caged, caged muscle is the best. It's just a really good all-rounder. Like it's high in caffeine, but not crazy high. It's got 274 milligrams. And there are really good doses of beta-alanine and betaine and citrulline, and also some creatine, which helps with power output. So it can support pretty much any type of workout. It's also got a big hit of antioxidants from like some ground up fruits and vegetables in here, which is like very unusual, but it is an interesting addition to it. There's taurine and 2 types of tyrosine to help with focus. And there's also some branched chain amino acids here, which is pretty unusual for a pre-workout, and it might make it a little easier to exercise on an empty stomach. My runner-up for best pre-workout on the market, I think, is Legion's Pulse. Now, it is a bit pricier than pre-caged, and it does not have any branched chain amino acids, but it does have more caffeine. It's 350 milligrams per serving, and it's got really good doses of all those other ingredients that I've been talking about. So, you know, there's the betaine, there's the beta-alanine, there's a citrulline, there's taurine and theanine for some focus. There's also some L-ornithine, which some studies have shown that could potentially help to reduce fatigue in longer workouts. And one big potential bonus for this product is that it does not have any artificial sweeteners or flavors, which is going to be good news for people who want to have a more natural approach to their workouts. Now, when it comes to the strongest pre-workout, Legion Pulse actually topped the list this time. So again, this has 350 milligrams of caffeine. That is well over twice the amount you'll find in 2 short Starbucks coffees. Beyond that, everything else here is very highly dosed as well. There's 8 grams of citrulline, there's like 4.8 grams of beta-alanine. Like the minimum most people think you need is 1.6. And this sort of repeats throughout these ingredients. One thing that's also pretty cool about this product is that one serving is actually 2 scoops. So if 350 milligrams of caffeine is just too much much for you, and it may well be. You can very easily half that serving, and there's enough of the other ingredients that you're still going to get a pretty effective workout. Now the runner-up for strongest pre-workout is going to be Outlift by Nutrex. This is the only fruit punch flavor I've ever liked, by the way. It's like a pineapple flavor. It's still got 350 milligrams of caffeine, like Legion Pulse. It's a bit lower in some of the other ingredients, but it does have a lot of bonuses. Like it's got 5 grams of branched chain amino acids here, which again could make it easier to preserve muscle during long workouts on an empty stomach. There's also some creatine, which Legion Pulse does not have, which again can help with power output. There's 2 grams of taurine, which can help with focus. Normally you just see 1 gram of taurine. Plus there is some bioperine, it's like a black pepper extract, which some studies have shown can help all these ingredients to better absorb into your system. So I'm a really big fan of this one, and again, it tastes pretty good. So what's the best pre-workout for weight loss? I was pretty impressed by Transparent Labs Lean. Transparent Labs is one of these companies that does a really good job of justifying all their claims with like studies and everything. They include a lot of research on their product pages. This one here, it is a regular pre-workout in many respects, but it has some extra ingredients added into it that you often see in fat burner supplements. So most notably, there's some Synephrine here, which is also called bitter orange extract, and some studies have found that can help to increase the amount of calories you burn. Probably by like 60 to 100 calories, although when you combine it with food, it might be even more. Plus there's some hordenine in here, which some studies have shown could further enhance those effects of Synephrine, which is pretty cool. There's also some Google sterones, which might help to optimize thyroid function, and if your thyroid is out of whack, that could impede your fat loss. There's not really a very big dose of it, but nonetheless, the other fat burning ingredients are very impressive, and again, it's just very highly dosed in everything else. A good 6 grams of citrulline, a good 2.5 grams of betaine. There's also some 2 grams of branched chain amino acids here as well. The runner-up for best pre-workout for fat loss, I think, is Evolution Nutrition's Engine Shred. Again, it's got a lot of fat-burning ingredients like green tea extract, red pepper extract, forskolin, some yohimbe, some CLA. I do have some issues with this product, like there are a lot of proprietary blends, so I don't know exactly the amounts of each ingredient sometimes. The ones when I do see the dosage, sometimes they're very much in line with studies. A couple of them aren't quite as in line with studies, but nonetheless, this is definitely head and shoulders above many other fat burners on the market when it comes to fat loss. All right, we're just gonna stop this video really quickly to let you know that we would really like to give you a $200 Amazon gift card. Every single month, Barbend gives them away to one of our lucky YouTube viewers. All you have to do to enter is really easy. You just click subscribe and then comment below, and that's it, you're in the running. So good luck, and let's get back to the video. Now, if you're a fan of cardio workout, I think Transparent Labs Bulk, that's gonna be your best bet. Obviously, I quite like Transparent Labs, but the ingredients here are quite different to the ones you'll find in Lean. It has more branched chain amino acids, which can be really useful for like longer term workouts, especially on an empty stomach, and a lot of people like to do cardio while fasted. It's also much higher in beta-alanine, which is really good for endurance. Again, there's a whole 4 grams of it here. Normally, most pre-workouts have 1.6 grams. There's a good 6 grams of citrulline malate to help with blood flow. And there's also some theanine and tyrosine and taurine, all of which can help with focus, which often comes in handy during these longer cardio workouts. My runner-up for best pre-workout for cardio, it's gotta be pre-gym. Besides the fact this is one of the tastiest pre-workouts I've ever tried, and there are a bunch of really interesting flavors available here, the dosages are very on point. It is a little bit lower in beta-alanine than Transparent Labs. However, still a really good dose of citrulline malate at 6 grams. Plus there's some beet extracts, and both of those could potentially help to improve nitric oxide production and therefore improve blood flow, maybe power and endurance as well. So what about the best pre-workout for women? This is a question that we get asked a lot. I am not of the mind that women need completely different supplements to men, especially when it comes to pre-workouts. However, there are a lot of brands out there that do directly target women in response to the kind of research that they conduct with their female customers. One thing that they often hear is that a lot of pre-workouts out there are a bit too heavily dosed or a bit too high in caffeine for like women with lower body weights. Like 350 milligrams of caffeine for a 5'3" woman, that's gonna be like pretty overwhelming. So that's just like one of the many changes you might see in pre-workouts aimed at women. So with all that in mind, Fitness Ignite I think is a really good option for women. It's got 100 milligrams of caffeine in it, so it's not like crazy overwhelmingly high in caffeine. And it's got a big emphasis on beta-alanine for endurance and also L-carnitine, which could maybe potentially help you to burn a bit more fat during your workouts, as well as helping endurance. Another thing that I like is that it's very inexpensive. It's 55 cents per serving. So if you want more than that 100 milligrams, it's pretty easy to do so without cleaning out your wallet. The runner-up, I think, for best women's pre-workout is gonna be Strong Girl's pre-workout. It's not quite as inexpensive as Fitness, but you know, it's still pretty reasonably priced. It's got 125 milligrams of caffeine. Big emphasis on ingredients linked to focus and endurance for your workouts. And one thing I found very interesting is it has a blend of antioxidants in here, which could potentially help to improve like recovery and cell health, maybe even skin health as well. So what about the best pre-workout for men? Well, unsurprisingly, the pre-workout called Bulk has a pretty big emphasis on muscle gain, in particular testosterone, which of course is pretty important for a lot of guys out there. It's linked to bone health and muscle gain, also mood and a lot of other aspects of your health. What's interesting with this is that it has a good amount of vitamin D and zinc, both of which have been linked to optimal testosterone production when you're consuming your recommended daily intake, or in the case of vitamin D, more than your recommended daily intake is usually pretty safe as well. There's also some boron here, which has also been linked to adequate testosterone production. It's not quite as strong evidence, but still pretty good evidence. This really does avoid a lot of the gimmicky testosterone booster sort of advertising you see in a lot of products like that. There's really good evidence for vitamin D and zinc and boron. And of course, everything else is very well dosed. It's gonna give you a really good workout. And the harder you work out, probably the better your testosterone production as well. The runner-up for men, I think, is gonna be Old School Labs Vintage Blast. Partly that's because it's got this handsome dude on the front with a mustache and Burt Reynolds hair. I quite like that aspect of it. Besides that, it's got a lot of vitamins for a pre-workout, which is a bit unusual, like vitamin C, B vitamins, magnesium, stuff like that. A good amount of citrulline and beta-alanine. Another very interesting thing here is that it has micro-encapsulated caffeine, which means that it releases caffeine again, like partway through your workout. So it's really good for longer-term workouts. Plus it has some D-aspartic acid, which a few studies have shown could potentially temporarily increase testosterone. So what if you want a pre-workout but you don't want any caffeine? It sounds ridiculous to a lot of people, but I do have to emphasize that all the ingredients I've been talking about today, except for caffeine, are linked to improved performance without technically being stimulants. So maybe you're working out kind of close to bedtime, maybe you just don't really like caffeine. You do have options. I think the best one is Genius-Free by the Genius brand. So instead of caffeine, it has ingredients like theobromine and rhodiola rosea, which some studies have linked to reduced fatigue and improved focus, without technically acting like stimulants. Meanwhile, there's plenty of the other ingredients I've been talking about, a really good amount of citrulline, a really good amount of beta-alanine, there's some tyrosine and taurine for some focus as well, and there's a lot of really unusual ingredients in here as well, like L-of-ATP and astragalus, which again have been linked to focus, but they're not really gonna wake you up a whole ton. The runner-up for caffeine-free pre-workout is going to be Pump Surge. Now it has fewer ingredients than Genius-Free, but it has more rhodiola rosea, which is interesting. There's also, again, a pretty decent amount of citrulline as well. There's an alpha GPC here, which is a pretty strong link with increased power output too. It does not have any beta-alanine, so it's possible this might not be your absolute favorite workout for endurance and running-based workouts, but then again, if you don't like that tingly feeling when you take beta-alanine, if it feels too much like a stimulant, you're gonna be pretty happy with this. Finally, I would say most of the pre-workouts I've been talking about contain a little bit of creatine. Creatine is a really effective supplement for working out. It can help to increase muscle size, it helps to increase power output, but maybe you don't like it, maybe it doesn't digest very well, or maybe you don't like the fact that for a lot of people it makes the muscles look a bit puffier, like if you're preparing for a physique show or you're going to the beach, something like that, people want to look a little bit harder in their muscles. So my favorite pre-workout that does not contain any creatine at all is going to be Legion Pulse yet again. I know I've mentioned this product a lot. I'm a really big fan of it. It's all naturally flavored as well, if that's important to you. And again, lots of caffeine, lots of beta-alanine, lots of citrulline. It's really got pretty much all the big hitters and the products with the most research behind them. So all around, it's a great pre-workout. Also no creatine. The runner-up for this category is definitely Ghost Legend. We really like this one around the office. It's got 200 milligrams of caffeine, so it's not crazy high, but it's got a good amount of taurine, it's got a good amount of rhodiola rosea as well, which is an unusual product for helping to increase focus too. Decent amount of citrulline and beta-alanine, and there's a lot of kind of unusual ingredients in here as well, like olive leaf extract, which could potentially help with fat loss. Most importantly, Ghost has partnered with Warheads to make their products taste exactly like the sour candy you used to have as a kid, so I'm a really big fan of this one. All right, so those are my thoughts on all the absolute best pre-workouts on the market. I've tried a ton of them. Those are definitely my favorites. I'm really confident in that list. But if you want to see more entries on my list of the best pre-workouts and a couple of additional categories, just make sure you Google that full roundup with Barbend plus best pre-workouts.